Hey, this is Becca in Santa Cruz. I'm here up in my warm loft with my cat, Miles Davis, in the middle of a wild storm outside, drinking some mud water. It's fantastic. Just getting ready for a day of remote teaching. Hope everybody has a good one.
That is my impression of a Miles Davis song. That's a great name for a cat, Becca. Thanks for sending that in. If anyone else wants to send a voice memo in to be played on this podcast, bust out your phone, record less than a minute of audio. Just let us know who you are, where you're listening from, some details about your surroundings, a quote that you like. Get weird with it. And you can email it to podcast@mudwtr.com. If we play it, we'll send you a free box of mud. What's up, everyone? My name is Kyle Tierman, and welcome to Trends with Benefits. This is a microdosed episode where we offer little bits of wisdom for you to take into your day. And today, our guest is Dr. Molly Maloff. Dr. Maloff runs a medical practice which specializes in helping people optimize their health and longevity using food, lab tests, and self-tracking devices. She's also a lecturer at Stanford's Wellness Department in the School of Medicine, where she teaches a course entitled Live Better Longer, Enhancing Health Span for Longer Lifespan. We recently worked with Dr. Maloff on a multi-week coffee detox program. So if you are looking for a playbook to get yourself off of coffee safely, head over to mudwtr.com and check it out. We're really proud of our coffee detox program. And with that, hope everyone has a wonderful day, and please welcome to the show, Dr. Molly Maloff. How does caffeine interact with the body?
All right. So a lot of people, when they drink coffee or consume caffeine, they think that what it's doing is it's just giving them energy. But what it's actually doing is it's hiding their tiredness, because there's a stuff called adenosine in the brain. And the more adenosine that builds up throughout the day, the more tired you get. But what caffeine does is it kind of blocks the adenosine receptors. It gets inside the receptor, and so the adenosine can't bind. So your body doesn't know it's tired, even though it actually is. So that's why we get this kind of roller coaster experience with caffeine, where we get this peak and trough. And so when you feel stimulated, you're very, very high. And then when you're off the caffeine, or it dips below, you start feeling kind of tired. That's the main effect of it, but it also contributes to the release of stress hormones. So it helps you produce things like norepinephrine, epinephrine, and cortisol. Now, stress is not necessarily a good or a bad thing. In some cases, it helps you move and gets you going, gets you to do things. And a lot of people use caffeine to do work. But the problem is that we're all living under an enormous amount of stress right now. So we're getting all this extra stress hormone being pumped out of our body in the midst of a very stressful life experience. And so that combination is just very detrimental to overall health.
What is caffeine use disorder?
So caffeine use disorder is essentially when you consume so much caffeine that you really struggle to get off of it. You have a really hard time not able to go off, because you get terrible headaches, you get anxiety, you get all sorts of side effects of caffeine withdrawal. And you typically have to seek out caffeine consistently, no matter where you are, in order to avoid those kind of side effects. That's the main gist of caffeine use disorder. It's usually when caffeine is kind of affecting your personal or your professional life. Like, for example, when I was a caffeine dependent, I couldn't really do work effectively without it. And I also wasn't a very nice person to be around. So it was actually something that would affect my relationships, and it would affect my ability to function. So to me, I started researching caffeine, and I was like, for so long, I was like, yeah, this is my medicine. This is my drug of choice. And then I realized, oh my God, it's harming my health and it's making me like not a great person. And I just wanted to be calm. I wanted to be relaxed. I wanted to be at ease at work. I didn't want to feel so crazy all the time. And so caffeine use disorder is typically what you see in people who really struggle with either getting off of caffeine or the side effects of daily use and an inability to not have it without the inability to not really have like days off of caffeine because you have so many problems going off of it.
How can caffeine affect your personality?
Well, anybody who's drank like multiple cups of caffeine in a row knows that you can become extremely wired and extremely jittery and extremely talkative, right? Because you've just got all these stress hormones being pumped out. So it can really make you more on edge. It can also make you more anxious. A lot of people don't realize that they have caffeine metabolism mutations in their genes. And it makes them more likely to become anxious because specifically slow metabolizers are people who really struggle with caffeine. And they know, these are the people who definitely know they don't do well with caffeine. But there are people who are intermediate metabolizers that may or may not struggle with caffeine. And I'm actually a slow metabolizer, but I noticed that when I combine too much stress and caffeine, it actually makes me much more irritable, much more tense. And honestly, there was a point where I was just like, noticing that without caffeine, I wasn't able to focus properly. So it can affect your personality, specifically around, anxiety typically, and then irritability are the big ones, I would say. But if you're a woman and you struggle with hormone dysfunction, any woman who knows that PMS, what PMS is like, knows that you can get a bit moody around your period. But what I believe is that because caffeine and estrogen have similar they use some of the same pathways for metabolism. When you drink a lot of caffeine, you actually it can affect your hormones. It can make you more irritable, more premenstrual, more PMDD, more PMS. And that in itself is a reason for a lot of women to consider going off of it. I think that for a long time, we've been using caffeine in our country as a performance enhancing drug. And as somebody who is always trying to optimize her performance, I felt like it was a vital part of my daily, experience. And then I started to experience the reality of chronic stress. And I started doing research on caffeine, and I realized that although in times of low stress, caffeine can actually give you a nice boost and some extra focus, the problem is that we are becoming not necessarily addicted to caffeine, but we're becoming dependent on it for functioning. And it's become such a massive part of our daily lives that we can't even imagine our lives without it. To me, true high performance doesn't require you to be on performance enhancing drugs. True high performance actually comes from having a really dialed lifestyle and being able to function well with or without these crutches that we have, right? And so one of the things that a friend of mine mentioned to me was that I thought was really telling. And it was that, we've been kind of using our bodies. We've kind of been abusing our bodies in a way that essentially makes them something that they're almost like just a means of productivity, right? We're kind of just using our bodies as these tools for productivity. And no matter what we do to them, we're kind of just really focusing on these external goals of I want to get this thing accomplished. I'll do whatever it takes to get there. But the problem is that we're actually not paying attention to our body's messages that our bodies are sending us. And a lot of people right now are struggling with chronic stress and burnout. And more coffee is not the answer to that. The answer to chronic stress and burnout is to reduce the number of stressors in your life and to find more balance.